Hello, everybody. My name is Kim Candelmo, and this is my project manager interview PowerPoint for Dr. White's Organization and Operation of Training and Development class. I'm going to begin by focusing on the interviewee, his background, current role, and then move on to the interview process, discussing primary project management issues and some key takeaways. Okay, so the background, my interviewee graduated from NC State in 1997, got his BA in accounting and finance. The primary career paths discussed when he was at NC State were audit, tax, banking, insurance, financial advising, corporate accounting, finance, etc. He does wish that his formal education would have included more information about project management as a career option and PMP certification, especially since that's what he's been doing for the last 25 years. Project management. His first job out after college graduation was with a consulting firm in project management within the financial services industry. Years later, he obtained his PMP certification to supplement knowledge, skills, and marketability. He has worked for RBC, PNC, and is currently employed with MetLife. His current role, his job title is Senior Project Lead 2 at MetLife, and he's been there for 8.5 years and has managed over 120 projects throughout his 25-year career. Here's just a collage here of all the different words that kind of encapsulate project management, quality, methodology, resources, budget, activities, time management, cost, planning, scope, etc. Okay, the interview process. So the questions, we had to use the 10 questions that Dr. White gave us, and then I added 5 more, which focused on what he enjoys most about being a project manager, which management method he uses most and why, PMP certification. Those are just a few. So how I found my project manager and set up an interview. I've known my interviewee for several years. His wife and I are friends. I also taught their son 4 years ago. But I was not aware that my interviewee was a project manager. He is married to a good friend of mine. One day we were having lunch and I was asking her about project managers at her place of business. And it is at that point that she told me that her husband is a project manager. So when we exchanged emails, the interviewee and I, he described his job as a project manager. And it was at that point that I knew he was the one I wanted to interview for this assignment. So after he agreed to all the stipulations in the consent form, we agreed to meet via Zoom. I sent him a Zoom link, and the interview took place on September 28th, 2022 at 3 p.m. And the interview lasted for about an hour. He was well prepared, very forthcoming about his experience, advice, and some of the issues that he deals with as a project manager. So, primary issues that he handles in project management: scope, project risk, managing others effectively, management methods, leadership qualities and skills, and also the pandemic. So when we focused on scope, and I asked him how he documents scope, the scope of a project, he shared 3 different documents. So business requirements document, a functional requirements document, and a technical design document. And the way that he handles scope creep is with a change request form. Project risk, how does he identify and mitigate project risk? He identifies using a combination of strategies and techniques, like, using lessons learned from prior projects, using requirements and design documents to highlight areas of concern or risk, project roadmaps, peer reviews with other project managers, and SMEs. The way he mitigates project risk, it depends on the situation, but he usually discusses it with the project team to get feedback, and then to determine the best fit mitigation strategy that they should use before the risk becomes an even bigger issue. Document the risk and mitigation plans in a RAID log, which stands for risk action items, issues, and decisions for review. The way he manages staff and stakeholders, it's in a matrixed environment without direct report oversight, but his preferences include being positive and having an open dialogue, quick to address issues, and having accurate, honest, and timely communication. Some of the terms used in day-to-day work are listed here. So target dates, roadmap, status, percentage complete, cost, funding, budget estimations, resource availability, utilization, strategic versus tactical, and business benefit. The management method he primarily uses is waterfall. We did talk about agile. He does think that Agile has become increasingly more prevalent because it's better with visualizations and ensuring requirements are met. He believes that the Agile method can be a good fit because it supports demos and deliveries at shorter time intervals along the way. It gives stakeholders something to touch and feel earlier in and throughout the project. Additionally, you typically have dedicated resources on an Agile team covering most project impact areas. So the communication or feedback loop can be very efficient and welcoming of change and reprioritization of scope during each sprint or delivery interval. I did share a quote from our book. Due to the pace of change and the need to adapt quickly and generate working products and systems as soon as possible, Agile development methodologies are becoming the norm. So when I shared that with my interviewee, he did tell me that they do use a hybrid method, so a combination of waterfall and Agile. So leadership qualities and skills that my interviewee thinks are most important for a project manager, which would be effective and timely communication, planning, forecasting, reading comprehension, and active listening. And he just broke that down. He just said simply like, reading somebody's email and understanding, comprehending what they're asking for or what they're saying, how important that skill is. He said sometimes somebody will read an email, misunderstand, write another email that includes 10 people, and then the next thing you know, wrong information is being spread like wildfire through a team. So reading comprehension and active listening, truly hearing what people are saying, and asking, did I hear you correctly when? And truly, taking the time to listen and understand what people are saying on your team can go a long way. Negotiating, risk management, people leadership in a matrixed fashion, cost, time, and scope management, critical thinking, problem solving, and also being proficient with project management software tools, and knowledge about different methodologies and certifications. On the pandemic. So when I asked him how his role as a project manager changed since the pandemic, he did say that, most people on his team or, teams, since he's on several projects at once, were already all around the world. But that the people that he worked with in person who are now, at home, it was an adjustment due to just their lives changing. Some people were working from home full time and also trying to help their children learn online for the first time. Sometimes there were connectivity issues, supply chain issues when laptops had to be replaced or headsets, resource availability. And this just kind of goes into more detail about what I already shared. But also, one thing I didn't mention, illnesses and vaccination reactions, and I already mentioned the unique family situations, but so that's how the pandemic impacted his job in project management. I shared this quote with him and he couldn't agree more, but responsiveness is the difference maker. And if people are accessible and respond quickly, whether they're in person or at home, most organizations couldn't care less where people are working from. Here's just another collage here. Some of the same words. Okay, so key takeaways, impressions, key issues, concerns, problems, lessons learned, advice, and concluding thoughts. Impressions. The primary impression this interview made on me was that project management is multidimensional. And in order to be successful, you have to have strong communication and organizational skills. I'll be honest, before taking this class, I didn't know very much at all about project management. I was a teacher for 21 years. As I've learned more and more about project management, I do feel that as a teacher, I was a project manager, managing 70-some seventh graders. And communication, organizational skills are very important for teachers to be successful. So anyway, so that was the primary impression on me, is how many responsibilities project managers have. And that they must be proactive and willing to work with others in a caring, kind, and patient manner. Project managers must embrace learning and be willing to share knowledge with others in a non-intimidating way. So some challenges as a project manager: keeping all stakeholders aligned is tough. Balancing scope, cost, timeline, negotiating whenever needed to ensure project success. Collaborating with SMEs, designers, and others can also be challenging, especially when you have, designers, SMEs that are are involved in several projects at once, and oftentimes their calendars are booked. So setting clear goals and objectives, concerns or problems of project management, scope creep could be a major issue. Budget restrictions, budget changes, lack of communication, team conflicts, mismatched team skills, absence of accountability, and impractical deadlines. Lessons learned: be very active in reaching out, following up informally whenever needed for status or a resolution to an issue. This was a major lesson that my interview has learned over the years. Scheduling time blocks on your calendar to allow time for organization, quiet thinking, and planning. So often, calendars get booked up and there's no time to just sit and think and plan. Another lesson learned: becoming efficient at estimating how much time you as a project manager will need to support a project. Being sure you can defend what you bring to the table, and always keep in mind how your project benefits the company, and make sure that your project is aligned with the company's vision and mission. Some advice that my interviewee gave: defining and scheduling meetings or touch point cadences as early as possible in the project and stick to it. Determine if smaller meetings by area, meeting with fewer people, would be more effective. One-on-one meetings if necessary. Be willing to do that and discuss what went well and what could be improved. Keep a project issues log so you can keep track of different issues that happen throughout a project, and then you can go back and look at that in with future projects as well. Some concluding thoughts. So I learned from my interviewee that being a proactive manager is essential. And skills, facilitation skills, being analytical, being organized, being willing to negotiate, having strong leadership skills, being able to communicate and practice active listening, very important. But most importantly, my interviewee, really drove home how it's important to care about people, and being willing to learn from prior projects and then build on those projects in order to ensure success. He also made sure that I understood that it's important to be aligned with the company, and allowing those experiences and your interactions with people to help mold him into an even better project manager. Thank you so much for listening.